This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Let's go!
Welcome to another edition of the Patriots Drive Podcast. Training camp is underway. We've had 2 padded practices so far. Football is getting back into the swing of things. I believe there's the Hall of Fame game this week where the Bears are playing. I don't think there's going to be any starters playing in that, but football's around the corner. We got a preseason game for the Patriots in about a week and a half. And from there, things are going to start rolling. Preseason game every week and then a couple weeks off and right into the regular season. So a lot of time left, but at the same time, we're right there. So getting into some real things to talk about. We've been gone for a little while. It's been a little bit of a break for us, but just hasn't been almost anything to talk about. Not a lot of huge storylines, no big trades made or anything like that. So, but we're back and excited for things to be back rolling again. So I'm here with my co-host, Jace Campbell. How's it going, Jace?
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to have some real football to talk about, whether it's the most news we've ever had, probably not, but at least, we got some guys running around, some guys making plays and some things to talk about. And I think it's going to be fun to watch how this group develops. There's already been some exciting news, from some of the youngsters and obviously a lot to talk about some of the older guys too, the veterans that are on this team. So excited for it. Yeah, I can't believe that the first preseason game is in a little bit under a week. And yeah, so we'll see. And it's going to be exciting because I feel like we're going to get a lot of Drake Maye, probably a couple drives of Jacoby Brissett, just because what he is. He's a veteran, but you're going to get a lot. And obviously the receivers and stuff have a lot to prove in a game like setting. So super excited for that.
I believe Thursday, August 8th. So just over a week. A week from Thursday is their first preseason game. So yeah, I'm excited. We've got to see some clips here and there, but we haven't really got to see May play in a Patriots uniform yet, obviously. So I'm excited. And I will be going to training camp in a couple weeks for the Eagles Patriots joint practice and then possibly to the preseason game as well. So that should be fun. Give you guys some live scouting there with my own 2 eyes. So boots on the ground. So that should be fun as well.
Yeah, that's fun. I still haven't been to a training camp up there. I know you've been to a couple and stuff, but that's going to be fun. I mean, I did see something that said that the attendance is like kind of lower than usual, which I guess is kind of expected, but also there is still a lot of hype.
It started out low. Like first couple days was like, all right. But then seeing the pictures over the past week, especially this past Sunday, the line was crazy outside. Like they had to open up extra seating, like standing area for people to be because it was so full. So I think it's getting back to normal. It was just kind of the first few days were a little bit rainy in the forecast and just things starting out. So maybe a little less hype than normal around the Patriots, but I still think it's right up there.
For sure. Well, let's jump into some of these. Which one do you want to start with? We haven't really talked about what order we want to go in. I don't know if there's like one major storyline. I guess there's a couple that probably jump out. So which one do you want to start with?
I feel like the major thing is what's kind of pressing right now, and that's Matthew Judon. I feel like that's where we should start off. Just kind of a crappy situation. I guess just to kind of update you guys on some news, which I'm sure you've seen by now, in between when we last went live. Jabril Peppers got an extension, which I love. Ramondre got an extension. I can't remember if we had touched on that or not. So Judon has seen all these guys around him get extensions. Devon Godchaw is also wanting an extension, but his agent was at practice yesterday, which typically means a deal is coming soon. And Godchaw has been practicing fully the past 2 days in padded practice. So Judon's frustrated. He said the other day he didn't want to be a bad guy. He just wanted to play. He didn't want to be a diva like he was last year. But I hated how it looked yesterday with him and Drake Maye on the practice field in front of everybody, it looked like he was throwing a temper tantrum out there and just causing a scene, which I love Judon. Like, he's an awesome dude. I understand why he's frustrated. But at the same time, it's a crappy look for your coach, your new head coach. You're kind of showing him up, you're kind of acting a fool on the field. And I'm sure that's why he was not on the field today, because Mayo was like, excuse me. Mayo was like, if you're not gonna, I'm assuming, if you're not gonna practice, you don't need to be out here causing trouble. Like, just throwing your arms up in the air, arguing with people, like going back and forth, looking all frustrated. Clearly, like, his body language is showing that. I understand it, but you just can't do that in that situation. Um, Listen, it's a tough spot. Judon is a hell of a player. He deserves more money. I understand why he wants an extension. It's got to be frustrating seeing all his other teammates getting paid. But at the same time, for the Patriots financially, it doesn't make a lot of sense to extend a 31-year-old defensive end coming off a major bicep injury to a long-term deal. I would extend Judon. I would give him a raise for this year and extend him one other year. So he would be here 2 seasons, the next 2 seasons. That's it. That's as much as I'd be willing to go probably on Judon. And I'm sure the team is probably echoing kind of the same thing. And I'm sure he wants a 3-4 year deal to finish off his career here. And they're not close on terms. They're not close on anything. It's just a tough situation.
And to go to the quote that you kind of mentioned, he said, I don't want to be the villain. I don't want to be the bad guy, but it's like, shoot, bro, help me out. We got the most cap in the league right now. I wrote out my own contract. They just ain't respond yet. So, I mean, I get it too. I mean, I've been saying this for a while. The Patriots right now still have $43 million in cap space. Like, you could easily give him more than the 6.5 base salary he's making this year. He does have a $14.5 million cap number. You could give him more than that, but he's being a distraction right now, right? You got a young team out there on the field that doesn't need to have these off the field distractions, especially at practice. And so I get, if that's what Gerard Mayo said to him, if he's like, hey man, if you're just going to be out here, bad body language, you're not going to be helping out the guys or being, a cheerleader for them and being what a veteran should be. I 100% get it. Now, I also get Matt Judon's spot. Like, I think me and you have both been saying this. There's no way they're going to spend $43 million. They're probably not even going to spend $30 million of cap space this year. So you can give him a raise for this year, give him a 1-year extension if you want through 2025, and you're going to be fine. I mean, you have a ton of cap space next year. You already said you were willing to trade for Brandon Ayuk and give him $28 million. That didn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen. So unless you plan on going and signing like a T. Higgins or trading for him or something, I don't know a better way to use the cap space. Like, you want a guy like Matt Judon, and the Patriots have been having much success against the offense. Take what you want, because this is a young offense and they're not expected to be very good. So to hear the defense is dominating is kind of like, oh, that's good. But it's also like, well, how much of it is the offense isn't doing their part? You need a guy like Matt Judon. And I'm not saying the Patriots are going to make a playoff push, but you need a guy like Matt Judon on your team. This is a young defensive team. And now all of a sudden, if Matt Judon's gone, you're even younger. And so I would like to get something done for him. I also am not liking how he's acting, kind of like you are. Like, I feel like it's gone against everything that he's ever been about when he's been in New England. And I get the contract part as a holdup. He also said yesterday that one of the main reasons he came to New England was because of Bill Belichick, and now Bill's gone. And so there's a couple things that are underlying it, but it's not what I would have expected from Matt Judon, because everything he's ever done and everything he's ever been about since he's signed with the Patriots has been like, hey, I'm a team guy, this and that. That's why he did the hold in last year. He didn't do the holdout, but it's getting a little concerning when it comes out from, inside the building to the practice field. It gets on camera, it gets out to the media. The other thing that sucks about this is if all of a sudden teams start knowing, hey, Matt Judon wants out, this and that, Patriots don't hold much leverage. His value is going to go way down. I don't know what his value is right now. I mean, I would assume that someone would maybe give up a 3rd-round pick for him, but if someone all of a sudden knows that he's wants out and that he's not going to play for the Patriots no matter what, it probably turns into a 5th or 6th-round pick or something. So his value is just diminishing unless they, can figure this out or whatever. But there is a contender out there that would use a Matt Judon, especially for the contract he's on this year. There's a a team out there that the Detroit Lions could use another pass rusher if they wanted to. The Niners could use one and stuff. So there's teams out there that would trade for a Matt Judon. It's just his value is going to continue to go down if all of a sudden he's not, being cooperative and teams start to know that he wants a trade.
Yeah, and I guess I almost, is that counterintuitive to throw a fit like that? Like, if the Patriots are only going to get a 5th, 6th round pick for Matt Judon, why would they trade him? Why would they trade him at that point? You know what I mean? So if he wants to get traded and he makes that clear to them, work with them. Say, listen, I don't want to be here. I don't want to cause a scene. I don't want to do any of this. Either pay me or trade me. And maybe they've had those conversations, but I hate to agree with this comment here, but it's almost like he's on fire the first half of the season and then he just falls off. And if he's done that before this injury and before this age, I don't see how that gets better as time goes on. So if you can capitalize off, say you figure it out, you just give him a raise for this year, you figure it out to make him play this year. Halfway through the season, trade him to a contender. If he's balling out, get a 2nd round pick, get a 3rd round pick, whatever. I would be okay with that. It's just, it doesn't seem like their vision's matching up long term. I understand what you're saying about the cap space, but that will roll over into next season. So if you don't spend, how much per year you think Judon's going to command right now? $23 million a year?
I don't think it would be that high. I would think that it's around. I think I said this last time we went live. I would say a 2-year, $30 million contract with all of it guaranteed is going to get it done. I don't think he's going to demand top of the market. Like, he's got to know that he's 30 years old and he's coming off that major injury. And they've got to know that that's probably dwindling his stock. Like, if there was a super big market for Judon, then he'd probably be gone already because there's been these contract issues. So I don't know. I don't think that he's going to demand 20+ million. I think he's going to be probably in the high teens, but no lower than 15. If he's
going to be on a 2-year deal, I just have a hard time seeing him taking something for 15 a year. I really do. Like, just looking at some of the guys, what they're getting per year. I mean, who do you think is better, Alex Highsmith or Matt Judon?
Matt Judon.
He's getting 17 a year.
He's also 27.
Yes.
I mean, if you go look at Khalil Mack, who's 33, he's getting 19. And I mean, Khalil Mack was probably a little bit better coming into his 30 year, or when he was 30 years old. DeMarcus Lawrence for the Cowboys had a great year a couple years ago, is up making $13.5 million. So, like, I get it, but you're looking at, like, even Hassan Reddick, who I would say Hassan Reddick, even though he's having the contract issues with the Jets, is holding out and stuff. He might be just as good as Judon, if not better. He's only making $15 million.
And he's not going to play on that deal. You know what I mean? Like, that's the same situation. He's not going to play on 15 a year. So if they're similar players, I just don't think he would take less than. I don't think he'd take less than 19. I really don't.
Because if you get in the 20 million, I love Judon, but I don't think he's better than Joey Bosa. I don't think he's better than Trey Hendrickson. Max Crosby's 23.5. Like, I think that 19 would be the max, 18, 19 million. That would put him right under Jonathan Grenard, who signed a deal this year. Khalil Mack, who's probably a little bit overpaid for 33 years old at 19 million. But, Bryce Huff is a guy that the Eagles just signed this year that was top in the league last year for sacks. He's 26. He's only making 17 million. So I would say no more than 19. Like, if it got in the 20s, I would say no way. If he's asking for in the 20s, no way.
That's my concern, especially for a 2-year deal. Like, if you're saying, all right, Judon, we're going to extend you until your age 34 season, he would probably say, okay, we'll lower that number per year to 15, 17, whatever it is. But he wants to maximize what time he has left. If you're going to give him a 2-year deal, he's going to try to get a top 10 per year contract at his position, I would think. I don't see why he wouldn't. I think he's you think he's a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL about?
He's probably around there.
Yeah. So if he thinks he's going to be that production for the next 2 seasons, if he's going to sign a 2-year deal, I think that's what he's going to want. And I just think I don't know. I just think that's too steep. If you can carry that cap money over, you're saying saving 20 million per year for the next 2 years. Go sign a wide receiver, go trade for a wide receiver 1 next season and use that on him. And then you can see what you can find on the edge rusher market next offseason or draft one in the second round, whatever it ends up being. But I don't know. If for a veteran who's at that level, if you can get a draft pick back, or if you can get him to just play half the season or whatever and then trade him, whatever the deal is, get value back for this player. I don't think it makes sense to give him a 4-year deal, 3-year deal. The most I would do is a 2-year deal, probably 17.5 per year. Yeah. And I just think he's going to want more than that.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not giving him a 4-year deal over 20 million. I think where you could make up the cap space or make up the space is the guaranteed money. Like, I really believe that you could give him close to a fully guaranteed contract for 2 years because he's making no guaranteed money this year either.
And that's a big problem for him.
That's got to be another huge problem, right? Like, none of it. It's not even like 50% of, like, it's not even like he's making $6 million guaranteed on his contract. No, he has zero guaranteed money. And I think that's a big one for him too. So I'm saying if you can sign him for 2 for 30 million, yeah, it's going to put him at that 15 million a year mark. I don't know if they'd give it to him fully guaranteed, but you could give him $25 million guaranteed. Even if you bump it up to 34 million a year to put him at the $17 million a year mark and give him, what is that? We'll give him $28 million. I just think guaranteed money would go a long way for him, especially because he has no guaranteed money on his contract right now. So that's where I'd make it up. I wouldn't go longer than 3 years. I totally agree with you. I wouldn't go more than $20 million, but I think if you gave him a good portion of it in guaranteed money, he'd probably bite it a little. He wouldn't just say, "Oh, I want the 20 million for sure."
Yeah, and I hope that would be the case. But I don't know. I think that's probably where their big separation is. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure they value him as a top edge rusher. So I don't see where else the discrepancy would be, and why they'd be so far apart if he didn't want somewhere around the 20 per year mark. I think that's probably what he believes is he probably believes he's a top 5 edge rusher in the NFL. I think that's what he probably thinks, which is why he's as good as he is. So I don't know. It's a tough situation. It's frustrating. I want Judon on this team. He's a huge leader on defense. He wreaks havoc. It doesn't seem like it's going to work out, but, anything else you want to leave off on Judon or
no? It's been going on for a couple months now. Like, I think this has been the biggest story, and I love the Jabril Peppers re-signing, but I would have thought that Matt Judon got done before. I mean, so we can talk about the Peppers one, but like, I love the Peppers one. I would have thought Judon got done before him. So I mean, Barmore was probably the number one coming in this year for like future ones. You got him done, you got Peppers done, which is great, but I would have thought Judon would have been hopefully done by now, because the last thing you want, I want him to play. Like, I just think it does nothing for him or the Patriots to waste a year, especially after he didn't even play half the year last year off of the injury. Like, his value is going to go down around the league. And so I don't know if he's going to hold out for the year, but I want to see him play. If he doesn't re-sign or we don't re-sign him for one more year, maybe we trade him halfway through the season. I can live with that, but I hate the drama going on. I wish we could see him play for a little bit, because if he does come out week 6 or come out weeks 1 through 6, and you're like, holy crap, this dude has 8 sacks. All of a sudden you're like, he is a top edge rusher. He still has it. Then you probably negotiate the contract a little bit more differently. Then yeah, right now, I'm not sure how much I'm giving him, because you don't know what he's like. He hasn't practiced. He's coming off that injury. He's 30 years old. So if you see him play a couple weeks, maybe it changes the Patriots' mind. You're like, yeah, we could use this guy for 2 more years and give him the money. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope it does. I hope he's, available for the Patriots at some point this year and straps it up for him, because he's a huge part of this defense when he's out there.
And I totally understand his perspective on it, as far as like, he's 30. He doesn't have a ton of years left. He wants to maximize his money, but he signed a contract 3-4 years ago. And for half of the contract, he's held out for more money each year. The reason that he has so little guaranteed this year is because they moved it last year from this year to last year, because he wouldn't play without it. So I don't know. You sign a 4-year contract. It was a good contract for an edge rusher, and then you just want more money every year. It's just tough. It's like, you can't just you can't be doing that. Like there was rumors that Uche was going to want to renegotiate his contract after he just signed it. He hasn't even played a snap yet. It's like you got to draw a line somewhere. You can't just let these players do that. So I don't know. If you sign a contract, unless it's like 5-year deal or 4-year deal, and then things happen and in the last year of your deal you want an extension or more money, like whatever. But I don't know, if you're asking for a raise every year for half your contract, it's like why'd you agree to the contract then? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally agree. It's one of the weird things that happens in the NFL and with contracts and stuff. So where my entertainers sub, Judon has 10 million dead cap this year, so either he already got the cash or he has some guaranteed this year. Sup, dudes. So
yeah, he already got, I think
he
they
got
moved
it. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep, from last year. They readjusted it. So, but let's stay on the defensive side. Another big storyline on the defensive side. We just dealt with this. What was it? 3 years ago with David Andrews dealing with blood clots in his lungs, and he sat out the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't said right now, they don't think that it's as long as David Andrews, but man, you just signed your cornerstone defensive piece to a big extension for a defensive lineman, and now he's sidelined for the first part of camp with blood clots. Now, first thing is, I mean, I'm not complaining because obviously this is serious. Like this is a serious thing and stuff, but gosh, it's horrible timing, especially because our top 2 pass rushers are Matt Judon and Christian Barmore. And now it's looking like you're not going to have both of them for week 1. Mm-hmm. And who knows what it's like for the rest of the year. So first off, hopefully Barmore gets better, but yeah, this is a huge loss for the defense if it's a year-long injury.
Yeah. I mean, huge. Like I haven't heard almost anything about it, but you typically, Devers 3-run homer. Let's go, baby.
Get out of here with your Red Sox
Let's
crap.
go. Yeah, it's just you gotta pray for the guy. Like you first off gotta just hope for his health. Like you mentioned, it's a serious thing, and I mean it's life threatening for people. So I'm glad they caught it. It seems like early, and they did what they needed to do. He seems to be in good spirits, but I haven't heard like any reports on a timeline. And I know Gerard was asked about it, said nothing about it. Basically, I don't know. I got no idea what to think as far as the time goes, but you hope he gets back as soon as possible. You hope he's healthy and well enough to do so. But it's a huge loss, like you said. If you're down Barmore and Judon, your whole defense looks completely different. And that might be why Godchild might be getting a deal done. And he doesn't do the same things that Barmore does. He's more of a run stuffer, but he doesn't bring that same pass rush ability where Barmore's eating up double teams, like and just causing chaos. So really, really tough loss. You hope he's good to go for the season, or hope he doesn't miss too much time at least. But yeah, scary stuff right there. You just hope he's okay, and you hope he can return sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Carlos says hopefully Barmore's tweet was an indication that he got some good news.
Yeah, I saw that. He just tweeted something a little while ago, just an emoji or something.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a huge loss. This is a guy that's like top 10 in pretty much every interior defensive line statistical category, pass rush win rate on PFF, pressure, stuff like that. And I just talked about how he signed this huge contract. That's not what it's all about, but this is a guy that the Patriots, like, they nailed him down a year before he was up. They knew that this is the guy they had to lock up. And so this is just bad timing. Hopefully, yeah, like Carlos said, he got some good news. But yeah, bad timing because we were talking about what's going to look like a year from now if Judon isn't on the Patriots, and you're like, hey, you're going to have Uche, Anthony Jennings, Keon White step up. Well, let's talk about this year. What's going to happen if Barmore and Judon aren't there week 1, because then you don't have one more year of development for Keon White. Anthony Jennings, who had a good solid last year, at towards the end of the year, is all of a sudden like, hey, this guy's going to be our second best pass rusher. Can he handle something like that? I've said that. I love Josh Uche, but can he be the number 1 guy when he's not opposite of Judon, who's taking all the attention? Those are the stories that you're going to have to follow through here. And I mean, Patriots, they have Devon Godchaux, depending on what his contract situation is. Armin Watts is a guy that they signed this year that's really good in the run, but it doesn't matter how many guys you have. There's not a Christian Barmore on this interior defensive line. And so this is a huge, huge, huge loss for them.
There's not many in the league, let alone on this.
I mean, you can think of Christian Wilkins is probably up there, in the interior defensive line. Obviously, Chris Jones, and I'm not saying he's Quinn on Williams. That level, but he's like trending towards there. What he can do in both the run and the pass is like, he's a rare breed of a guy that's his size, his speed, his physicality, things like that. So yeah, this is a big loss for that front seven.
Yeah, absolutely. Carlos, are you going to any more training camps? You're still here. Let me know. But
Cole wants to talk dynasty trades, boots on the ground, not over text.
Yes. Yeah. We got to get some in-person deals flying around here. But yeah, do you want to stick on the defense side and talk about the Peppers deal a little bit? What you thought about that? Your initial thoughts on that?
For sure. Do you have the contract up for sure, or like exactly what it was? 3 years, right?
Yeah, it was a 3-year deal.
I was just gonna pull it up just so I had it. 3 years, $24 million, could go as high as 30 million if he meets all of his incentives. I like it. I mean, I was talking about this the other day when I was on the Patriots roundtable talking about the safeties. I just think what Jabril Peppers brings, not only from on the field, but if Judon does leave, this is your leader right here. Jabril Peppers is probably your leader with Matt Judon. Yes. But Jabril Peppers, from a leadership standpoint, energy standpoint, what he does in the run, what he does in the pass, I don't want to say I was shocked by the contract extension they got. I just didn't see it coming. I'm like, oh, I don't know if they're going to re-sign him. No, I love the Jabril Peppers re-signing. Like, this is something that I think is going to be huge for down the road. 3 more years, you're going to pair him with Kyle Duggar. I think it's great. And Marte Mapu is still, I think, progressing. Like, he's not quite ready yet, but I love the idea of Kyle Duggar or Jabril Peppers for 3 more seasons. Like, it's a great safety duo. I think that it's going to be so fun to watch him.
You know how high I am on Jabril Peppers. I mean, I love that dude. He is a dog. Like, he just brings that fire that you don't see a lot of players have. It's just super exciting. So having a guy that physical, that vocal, that fired up is never a bad thing for your team. Even Mayo was like, it was a little much when he first got here, but now I love it. And it's just like, he's could be a great leader for the young guys. And I'm super excited about it. I love the deal. That was one of the guys I wanted extended. Wasn't the top priority, but I was okay with letting Kyle Duggar walk and extending Peppers. That's how much I like Peppers. So I know you didn't fully agree with that because you love Duggar, but
I just love them both.
Excited. They're both great players and they can do different things, but they do the same things well as well. Yeah. So it's
I mean, with how I don't know how the Patriots how similar they're going to be to with Bill Belichick. I'm assuming defensively it's going to be pretty similar. You just have so many guys that can do so many things really well. And I just think it adds an element to the defense that is unpredictable, that, you can put guys in different spots. You can do different looks out of it. You can drop one into the post. You can drop one into the box. They can both play in the run. They can both play in the pass. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to some Patriots fans and they're like, well, I just want a true free safety like Devin McCourty. Well, there's not one on this roster right now unless one surprises us. But I love the versatility. If you're not going to have a guy that can play a true free safety for 80 reps a game, there's no need to stick one in the post for 80 reps of the game. If he can't do it, he can't do it. So they're going to try to confuse the quarterbacks. He's going to be able to do different things. They're not going to just specifically be doing one job. They're going to do a bunch of different roles. And I think it's going to be really fun because the secondary with those two, John Jones, Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, mm-hmm. it's looking like the strong point all of a sudden, and I'm not saying it wasn't a strong point going in, but I think that's going to be, hey, if you can play man coverage or you can play cover 2 and just get home with 4, which I don't know if we can, if we're missing Barmore and Judon, but this secondary is going to be able to lock some dudes down. It's going to be fun.
I'm so excited to see Gonzo back. Yeah. So excited.
He looks he's got so much swag out there, man.
Showed so much promise last year in just 4 games. I can't wait. He was talking with Kay Adams about going through the gauntlet. That's what he's calling this season of wide receivers that he has to face. So I just can't wait. Kid's hopefully going to be a stud. Looks like it.
Yeah. So let's run a quick ad, and then we're going to get into the offensive storylines, some stuff like that. So appreciate it. We're going to run our SeatGeek ad. Thank you to SeatGeek for their sponsor, guys. If you're looking to go to any game, whether it's baseball right now, basketball, or hockey, whenever it starts up in a couple weeks or I guess it's a couple months, and then obviously football games, make sure you use our code. So appreciate SeatGeek for that. Are you tired of trying to find the best deals on tickets to your favorite events, concert, and games? Then SeatGeek is the answer. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. You can find the best deals thanks to their app and website showing you what prices are good and bad. And now you can use code PatriotsDrive for $20 off your purchase. So go ahead and get those tickets you've been eyeing because you don't want to miss out. Yeah, thanks to SeatGeek. We also have our code at Underdog, which is just Pat's Drive. If you guys are into putting any bets or you want to jump into a season-long fantasy or, do some pick'ems or whatever, of course, when we do our pregame shows and stuff in season, you guys can do your pick'ems with us, and we'll have those out there and stuff. So
can bet on over under half a minute for Jason Tatum in the next Olympics game.
Under.
What
I think it should be over under 50.5 water bottles handed out. That'd be my
goodness. Line. I mean, can you believe that? Like, what in the world?
It just goes to prove the media was right. He's not a superstar, Cole.
Dude makes All-NBA.
Celtics would have won it without him.
Dude makes All-NBA 3 years in a row and doesn't even crack the starting 5 or the top 10 rotation for Team USA. Like, you're on crack. Like Steve Kerr is an idiot.
That's funny. So
I'd be so pissed if I was Tatum.
I mean, I would too. I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. So let's move on to the offensive side. Some of you guys were mentioning it. We didn't get to see much of Javon Baker in OTAs and stuff because he was limited with that thumb injury, which we know now. But man, has he been showing out there one-on-ones? He's been good. You saw him on a shallow crosser. You saw him on a back shoulder throw, a contested catch. I've said this before, and if you guys have followed all through the draft process and draft day, this was a guy that I wanted the Patriots to get. Like, I love Jalen Polk, but I was so high on Javon Baker. And I think that he's shown exactly what we wanted him to show. And I don't want to jump the gun and say Jalen Polk or Javon Baker are going to be exciting, but I really think if they continue to develop, that it's going to make us feel a little bit better that we didn't trade the 34th pick for Brandon Ayuk. Because if you can get both these guys to work, I think that they could be really good. Now I get it, but you're going to take 2 rookies on a 4-year deal that it's way cheaper than one guy who possibly could regress. Not that Brandon Ayuk would, and I love Brandon.
Is he 26 years old?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you're going to pay a guy $28 million, and it's going to take up a ton of your cap space. But these 2 guys so far have been making it sound like, hey, these guys could have been the right decision. So super exciting to see Javon Baker out there. One, because he's just a fun player to watch, like energy, excitement, all that stuff. And I think he's made a couple people in wheelchairs stand up with his performance.
Yeah. I think that's a key part of what you just said so far. We'll see how this continues. Polk could get out there and be nothing once the games actually get going. You know what I mean? So I'd trade Polk and a 2nd round pick for Brandon Ayuk right now. So
wow.
Yeah, that's just how I feel. But
wow, that's crazy.
No, but I think Javon Baker was that both of our highest graded draft pick from the team?
I mean, other than Drake Maye, just because how much I love Drake Maye, for sure. For me, it was. I think I gave them both an A+. Like,
okay,
I wanted Drake Maye and I wanted Javon Baker. Like, those were 2 guys in my guys episode or whatever that I'm like, hey, I want these dudes. So I know I gave both of them an A+.
Carlos says, not trying to be funny. My sources tell me Wolf is looking for a cornerback to play on the boundary and inside and flex safety.
So looking for more for a nickel slot corner. Interesting.
Gonzo and John Jones are the only safe cornerbacks as of right now. I mean, yeah, like that's something that we've kind of talked about, is them adding a guy like Gilly, not just for his leadership, but I mean for another outside corner, and you can move John Jones to the inside. You can bring him to the outside when you need. Marcus Jones has been in there as well, so I would not be opposed to them grabbing another safety, another corner, or somebody who can kind of be a chess piece and move around a little bit, like Carlos is saying. That's why they worked out 4 to 5 corners yesterday. That makes sense. There we go. We got new sources here. Carlos,
Patriots Insider Carlos, best Twitter Patriots account to follow for sure.
Absolutely.
But no, back to the receivers. I mean, PFF released a thing that said 5 day 3 rookies who could earn a starting role in training camp Javon Baker was number 2 on that list. We all saw that there was a list that came out that said the Patriots had the 32nd ranked pass catchers out of 32. And, Jalen Polk put it on his story and said, y'all screenshot this and remember. And so these guys are playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Absolutely.
Like they're going out there. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't take Brandon Ayuk. I'm just saying if these guys continue to develop, 4 years of a rookie deal for these guys is going to look like a steal, because there's been nothing but hype around these guys. Like, there's been a couple bad practices, but there's been nothing but hype. Now you have a young receiver room with these two, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, if he continues to develop with a young quarterback. Yeah, Brandon Ayuk's young, but I think that this is maybe one of the most pleasantly surprising ones, even though we had high expectations for guys like Javon Baker and Jalen Polk. But just continuing to hear how the receivers are doing one-on-one reps, they're continuing to win. They're doing good in team, and they have a chip on their shoulder. So I love hearing from this that the wide receivers are making a name for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly motivated, and they're going out there making plays. You see Baker almost every day with a new highlight grab. So that's exciting in itself. So they just got to hope it continues. Hope they keep building chemistry and see where it goes. But yeah. It's just, we'll see where they're at after the end of year one, and then see where the wide receiver conversation's at.
The thing about receivers,
they would have to do a lot for me to say, don't go get a number 1 receiver.
Well, the thing about receivers too is most guys make their biggest leap from year 2 to 3. Like, the sophomore jump is pretty. The Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type of seasons are not very common. Like, in the last couple of years, I guess they are, and it shows the, importance of having a number 1 receiver. But most of these guys make like a year 2 to 3 jump. And so, if you get a guy out there that takes a ton of reps,
positions.
and for sure. I mean, quarterbacks are mostly like that, unless you're CJ Stroud or whatever. But so I expect them to have a rookie type year. I mean, hopefully they're out there and they're great, but I expect them to have ups and downs. But I think they're showing a lot of promise. And then going into
flashes.
year 2, yeah,
You want to see those flashes.
Yeah, for sure, and see that they have that upside. They have that. I mean, would you rather have a flashy year, or not a flash year, but a year where they're out there, they have 700-800 receiving yards, a couple touchdowns, or Tyquan Thornton or N'Keal Harry? Like, we know what a bust receiver looks like. So
yes.
It's going to be easy to tell, like, hey, these guys are a bust wide receiver, depending on if they're contributing or not come, week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, down the road. And so
that's why I'm hesitant to say much about it. We'll see it when it's on the field. You love to see the great signs, but Tyquan has been making a year 2 jump, a year 3 jump, a year 17 jump every single training camp. And it just never comes to fruition. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm excited though. You love to see the flashes, and that's what you want to see. Hopefully we see that year 1, and then, like you said, builds on it in year 2 and makes that jump years 2, 3. So we'll see, but you love to see it. And it's exciting to just think of the idea of possibly having a couple of young, good receivers to pair with Demario Douglas.
I mean, if these two work out, I mean, not that they're going to be to the level, but you look at Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, like 2 young guys that grow with the quarterback. Again, I'm not saying that any of these guys are going to be top 5, but all of a sudden you make 2 young receivers work with a young quarterback. It's really promising. So, and they're going to get a lot of time to practice together, grow together, things like that. So super exciting. Let's move on to the guy that's throwing them the ball. Obviously we'll talk about Jacoby Brissett. Drake Maye, though, he's shown signs of improvement. He's shown rookie struggles. He's shown, flashes for the future. I stick with what I said, and I think you will too. He's not going to start week 1. And as good as he's looked at times, and as bad as he's looked at times, it's never he's CJ Stroud or he's Mac Jones. Who was the buffoon media guy that said he saw the ghost of Mac Jones in him the other day?
Holly.
And then David, what is his name? Dave Violin. I don't even know.
I'm
just going to say, I don't listen to a lot of Boston media because I think it's outrageous. He said today that if you put truth serum in the Patriots front office or coaching
Greg
staffs, that's who it was. They'd say that freaking Joe Milton was above Drake Maye. Like, there is so much disillusion. Guys, if you go watch like any practice, like, I get it. No one was super high on JJ McCarthy. He struggled I mean, they're struggling all around the league, and this is Drake Maye's first NFL practice at 21 years old in pads. He's running with the twos. He's not running with the ones. Offensive line depth is an issue, things like that. It's just the media into Boston is actually kind of crazy. But the flashes, just like we were talking about with the receivers, the flashes we've seen from him, the good throws we've seen down the field, the one-handed catch from Jalen Reagor, it could have been a little bit better, but it was a great throw there and a great catch. You've seen connections with Jalen Polk, guys like that. Like, the flashes are there. Like, this guy's going to get comfortable. He's going to get confident. He's going to develop. And I think Alex Van Pelt is going to mold him into a really good quarterback. So I'm still not expecting him to start week one. Jacoby Brissett's done nothing to lose the job. But, man, Drake Maye has shown enough that, like, hey, this guy's going to be good when his time comes. And it is a win. It's not, because he's going to get his shot. But, it's going to take probably 8 to 10 weeks this year, if not a whole season.
Yeah, it's just overreaction central because they only have one day to go off. And if the day was awful, he's awful. If the day was great, he's good. Like, you can't, it's a small sample size. Like, if he is going 2 for 15 and throwing 3 picks every training camp practice until mid-August when we are done watching, I'll be very concerned. And then you can say, all right, like, we might have a problem here. But you knew he was a project coming in. You know that it was going to take some time. He looked better before the David Andrews injury popped up, when he was working with some of the first team O-line. He's been working with the backup offensive line and a third string center who's been giving him some pretty crappy snaps, apparently.
Yeah.
It's just, it's going to take some time. Like, relax. Everybody relax. Am I a little bit nervous? Yes, of course. You want to see your quarterback is doing it spectacular, and he's not looked fantastic consistently so far. It's early. It's very early. We just saw he was doing good without the pads on. First couple of days of the pads with the pads on. First day he didn't look great. Today it was a little bit better. You wanted to see some improvement, and hopefully he's gonna just keep learning things. Like you said, he's probably not going to start week one, but if he can be in a much better place by week one and then kind of learn and be ready to go a month and a half in, then great. Love to see that. So it's a process. This isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. You want to find your quarterback for the next decade, not for week one. You know what I mean? So I just think everybody needs to take a deep breath. It's going to be all right. It doesn't mean he's going to be a bust. It doesn't mean he's going to be a superstar. Like, we don't know yet.
And one thing that I think makes me a little bit more comfortable that he doesn't have to start week one is I feel comfortable with Jacoby Brissett. He's not going to lead us to the playoffs, especially with this roster, but you've seen and heard good things about Jacoby Brissett through camp. One of the things I was just reading is that he's actually built a pretty good chemistry with Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper early and often. So the tight ends are becoming more of a part of this offensive game plan. He's had highlight throws to, again, Jalen Polk, who's out there making plays, a couple other ones out there. So, like, I guess I feel more comfortable about going into week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however long it is with Jacoby Brissett than I did in 2021 with Cam Newton, because we knew Cam Newton was probably really one-dimensional, and him and Mac Jones's skill sets were nothing alike. Like, you're gonna have to run a totally different offense for Cam Newton and Mac Jones. Here you're like, hey, Jacoby Brissett and Drake Maye are probably going to be very similar. You can install the same game plan. You're not going to be running QB run or whatever 15 times a game. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm confident in Jacoby Brissett. He's not going to win us very many games on his own. He's not Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, guys like that, but he's not going to lose us. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He knows the system he's coming into. And the offense is actually starting to click a little. They've scored touchdowns in a couple red zone drives and a couple team segments. And so that gives me hope, right? You're not hearing like, oh, hey, the offense sucks with Jacoby Brissett. So you don't feel the need to throw Drake Maye there. Like, let him sit for another year. Let him sit for another 8 games, whatever. Just be patient with him, because this kid's time's going to come. And the longer and more he has to learn from a veteran like Jacoby Brissett, the better he's going to be. Josh Allen did it. Justin Herbert, I know, was kind of thrust into it because of the lung thing, but the guys that sit, Patrick Mahomes did it. It's beneficial. And the more he can learn, the more he can just not put that pressure on himself. And the other thing is, and we'll talk about this next, is the more the offensive line gets comfortable, the more the receivers get comfortable, the better Drake Maye is. So no need to throw him in there right now when we don't know what the offensive line combination is going to be. And we don't know if Jalen Polk or Javon Baker are actually going to be able to continuously do this in NFL games. So let everything work itself out, improve the team where you need to. When it's time for Drake Maye, he's going to be ready. I feel so confident in that because I've seen enough from him. I've seen him make those throws. He's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Carlos said that he looked pretty nervous in person, and a lot of checkdowns and scrambles. I did hear that about the checkdowns and scrambles and everything. I bet he was nervous. I mean, fans there, his first camp, he's not nearly as comfortable in the offense yet as Jacoby. Seeing how he was,
there's two ways to interpret that, in my opinion. Right? He was nervous, right? But he could have forced bad throws. He could have thrown 4 interceptions, right? Mac Jones probably would have forced 4 throws and had 4 picks, right? So a part of me, I'm not saying that we want him to be a check down machine, and I'm not saying he will be, but a part of me is like, hey, he was nervous, but he got to his check downs, right? Sometimes on 1st and 10, it's not the worst thing if you get a 4-yard gain to a running back out in the flat, right? Work your progressions, get to your check downs. He'll watch the film. He'll be like, hey, I can probably take that chance right there. I can bang that. But at least he's not continuously just recklessly throwing the ball down the field into double, triple coverage. So I thought that was kind of what I had heard from a lot of quarterbacks too, is that the defense was pretty dang good in a couple of the practice segments. And a lot of them were going to be, hey, let's, check it down here. Let's get what we can. So, I mean, I hope he's going to start continuing to push it down the field, which he has the arm strength. He has the arm talent too. And the scheme will hopefully allow him to, but yeah. So, Jermaine says Drake is young, so I'm sure he is reading what is being written about him on social media. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Carlos.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, the passer running out of backfield that Gino picked off was atrocious. Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, you also saw, I clicked off there. You also saw JJ McCarthy had a horrible throw. Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions in his first team segment. Like, Drake Maye's not the only quarterback struggling in practice.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably 4 quarterbacks in the NFL that don't struggle in camp. It's Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts or whatever. Like, they're the top 4 guys. Jordan Love, they're CJ Stroud, whatever. There's guys that have been out there that are still struggling. Like, playing quarterback in the NFL is hard. It's really hard. So
yeah, and Carlos, correct me if I'm wrong, but it did seem like, based off reports, that Drake Maye was more willing to take a deep shot here and there, where we didn't see as much of that with Mac Jones. It did seem like he was more consistently checking it down and not willing to attack once in a while. Just based off reports, it seemed like that. I didn't see it with my own eyes, so correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos, but that is what it seemed like, that he was willing to take those shots once in a while, but most of the time it seemed like checkdowns and scrambles, just based off reports. So it's early. He's still got to learn a lot of the offense. He's still got to get up to speed with NFL defenses and reading a defense and figuring out what he needs to do on each play. If this happens, then I need to do this. If this happens, I need to do that. So, yeah.
For sure. Let's move on to kind of the last topic that we have. And I mean, this is the biggest topic I had going into training camp, and it's the offensive line. So far, there seemed to be a steady offensive line combination the last couple of days. Obviously, the David Andrews injury throws a wrench in some of those things, but first couple of days, there was a lot of shuffling. So Caden Wallace was at right tackle, and then he went to left tackle. The most recent combination has been Wallace at left tackle, Chuksa Okorafor at right tackle, Michael Winter at right guard, David Andrews at at center, and then it's been City Sal at right guard. So you're getting, left guard. So you're getting a consistent interior at least, but the tackles have been a little bit moved around. They said they want to nail down an offensive line combination by preseason game 3, right? Is that what it was?
Yep.
So, I mean, they're going to probably
seems like they might already.
A little more. Yeah, hopefully. I mean,
well, they've had 4 practices in a row with the same starting line, so
which would be great. I mean, that would be great. And obviously, the David Andrews one is huge. They said that Nick Levert came in today. Layden Robinson had a couple good one-on-one reps yesterday, but struggled today in live. So you're still figuring out the depth, which is obviously always going to be a concern when it's a concern in general about who's going to be your starting offensive line. So I think the biggest one here, though, and I've been adamant about this, is Michael Winter going to right guard. And I know he's probably a better right guard, but man, if Chuks Okorafor or we can't find a right tackle, I'm going to be the first to say move his ass back out there because he's been the most consistent offensive lineman we had, and tackle's arguably the most important position. And we just drafted like 6 interior offensive linemen in the top 150 picks in the last 2 drafts. So I'm glad that they're at least sticking with a combination: Caden Wallace, left tackle, City Sal, David Andrews, Michael Wenu, Chuks Okorafor. But I want to see how they play, preseason game 1. And it sounds like they're building a little bit of continuity, but it's just been interesting that there was a little shuffle at first and now they kind of seem to have it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you want to see, Caden Wallace has done really well, left tackle, which is awesome. Like, that was a question mark. Right tackle, left tackle, is that move going to be all right? And seems to be good so far. It's just, we'll see once everything comes together and the starting defense kind of just similar stuff. So that's a huge factor in how this season goes and the future of this team. Like, we think we need a left tackle first round next year. We probably still do. But if you can find a couple guys here to have success, and maybe you don't need to go take that tackle, maybe you take a receiver, maybe you take a edge guy to replace Judon. Like, well, there's a lot more options if this O-line turns out to be good. And it seems like coaching staff is helping out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if Caden Wallace is the answer at left tackle for the future. You just got a 3rd round starting left tackle, so that would be great. I mean, until we see it consistently for 17 weeks, I still think that's the number one thing in the draft. But he could develop. Like, he's a dang good right tackle. The question is, can he make a switch to a position he's never really played before at the highest level and protecting, the blind side? Like, it's the biggest position, the most important position along the offensive line. So that's the question. But yeah, I mean, if you figure that out, heck, you just take, in my opinion, the biggest need, and you say, yeah, well, let's go. We lost Judon. Let's go take a top 10 edge rusher. Let's go get an elite pass rusher. Or yeah, let's go grab another wide receiver. Like, we need one more piece for Drake Maye. We need that. And so, yeah, I mean, it would solve so many issues going into next offseason, in my opinion, if he works out at left tackle. Doesn't mean you don't draft one, because I think that they need to build more depth around the edges. They have too many guard-like bodies that they're hoping to replace them if injuries happen. But yeah, man, I would love it if Caden Wallace was on there. So he would be awesome. So
yeah, that'd be huge.
But the other thing is, and I don't know how this works, but I mean, Tristan Wirfs hasn't figured out a contract with and they don't sound very close. And I don't know if he'll hit the open market, but I don't care how good Caden Wallace becomes. If that dude's on the market, you have to give a run at him, especially because we'll have the most cap space. That is a 25-year-old franchise left tackle for the next 8 years. Like, you sign him for 4 or 5 more years and see how he plays, and then maybe give him one more deal. But that would be a dude that you say, okay, we're going to put you there, and you're probably going to play there for every snap for the next 8 years. So that could be another thing that opens up. And I mean, I would be all for using all of our cap space for a guy like Tristan Wirfs. That dude's a freak.
That would be awesome.
You never know. But yeah, I mean, then you just, let's take a 1st round receiver or this or that. But yeah, the development of Caden Wallace, it was a little discouraging because it sounded like he was going to be right tackle through OTAs and minicamp. Now he's been exclusively left tackle the last couple of days. So hopefully they leave him there. Hopefully he pans out, figures it out, because that would be huge if we found a starting left tackle in the 3rd round and we addressed quarterback and receiver, who were still huge needs in the first 2 picks.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yep. Carlos, I think the best way they can put out is Wallace, Sal, Andrews, Lever, Owenu. See, and that's where I think, like, I don't know if I trust Chuks Okorafor. Owenu is probably an all-pro right guard. I don't think we have the luxury, if we start struggling at right tackle, to put him in there at guard. Like, we paid him good money. We're paying him pretty much tackle money. So we'll see. Lever is an experienced guy. Layden Robinson has the power and punch if he can figure it out. Mafi's a guy that struggled through there. And then there was one more. Cole Strange whenever he gets back, which I just feel like he's probably, like, do you think he could be a surprise roster cut with the injury?
I don't know. That's tough. Maybe. Can you cut him if he's on PUP?
Yeah, probably. I would assume you can't.
That's my only question, I guess.
Because he's not going to count towards the 53 man. So, I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he has much of a future here. Maybe I would give him a shot with the new O-line coach and just see if you can get something out of him. I mean, you took him in the first round.
Yeah.
Just maybe just see if that makes any difference. And if it doesn't, if the new O-line coach says, listen, this guy ain't it, then it is what it is, and you move on. But
I'd probably give him if we're gonna give him one more chance, I'd want to see what he can do at center. I'd want to see if he can be a David Andrews replacement. Yeah. He's athletic, he can run. Not the I don't want to say not the biggest dude, but he's not stout like some of these. He's not Antonio Maffei. He's not even like look at Michael Winter. Like he's not stout like Michael Winter. So
yeah,
I mean, depending on how the Jake Andrews thing were to work out, if he can develop, but I would maybe say, hey, let's give him a run at center, see if he can snap and see if he can get out, and run some interesting, pull plays. If you can pull the center, it creates a ton of problems for the defense. So that'd be where I'd give him a shot. But O-line, I still think this is the biggest one going in. Like we've heard a ton about receivers. We're finally starting to hear a little bit of continuity about the offensive line. But man, if they can at least get a steady, solid, and the other thing is a healthy offensive line. If they can get a healthy offensive line, it's going to make, hopefully this offense will improve drastically from next year, because we've talked about this too. It's not only going to help the passing game, it's going to help Ramondre Stevenson stay healthy, hopefully get back to 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, just health, continuity, and building as a group together, because just too many different groups and too many different alignments, just you can't build the chemistry, and it's tough on the O-line. So that would be huge. That would be huge.
For sure. Well, guys, we appreciate it. Cole, anything else? I mean, I know it's kind of a quick rundown of, we'll probably be live again in a week or so, have more training camp once preseason game 1's done, talk about that, the performances there, and maybe we'll have some Matt Judon news or whatever. So anything else though?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like Jay said, we'll continue to update you guys probably within the next week or so and see how things go. They got the day off tomorrow, and then they're back Thursday, padded practice, or no pads.
Yeah, right, I think it's no pads for the week, right? Yeah, 2 days.
Yeah. Yep. So back next week with padded practice, and a week from Thursday is their first preseason game, and then I will be out there a week from then for their joint practice with the Eagles. So should be fun, should be good. And
who's preseason game 1? So I'm like so tuned out.
Panthers,
because preseason is like right during our fall camp too. So like I usually watch the highlights and stuff, and I try to catch a little bit of it. But so it's Panthers week 1. Is it in New England or is it?
Yep, Panthers at home, Eagles at home, and then Washington on the road.
Cool.
And that one's at the end of August.
There you go. So yeah, exciting. I mean, obviously the Eagles joint practice is going to be huge. That's going to be one of the best teams of the league, offensively and defensively. So that will be that's a great, I know they're only doing one joint practice this year, but that's a great way to, hey,
good test for the O-line.
We might see some struggles. Like I would not expect us to go in there and bully them around. Like we're going to probably expect some struggles, but the only way you can get to being the best is to practice and, try to beat the best. So, go in there, iron sharpens iron. They're probably going to get pushed around a little, but it's going to be beneficial. And luckily, whatever happens out there is not going against the record. It's not going against Drake Maye's stats, and it's all just going to be learning and stuff. So, and maybe they go in there, like you said, I mean, maybe Darius Slay goes in there and gets torched a couple times by Javon Baker, and you're like, hey, shit, this guy's the real deal. And so we'll see. But,
yeah. And I mean, if Judon and Barmore are healthy, that defense going up against them in practice every day, it doesn't get much tougher than that with Gonzo on the outside. So it's a good test and a good prep for those guys. So it should be fun. It should be a fun challenge for both sides of the ball, especially the Patriots defense going up against that offense. I mean,
yeah,
that offense is stacked. So should be fun.
Sure. So
yeah,
cool. Well, yeah, that's all I got. So we'll make sure you have the notification bell on, subscribe, guys, hit that like button, tell your friends about the podcast when we go live. Just community talking Patriots football. Appreciate all the support in here. So
yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
7-year on to Cincinnati.